there's just got to be some type of way to give you something like, and it's really starting now.
Yeah, seriously. No, for real this time. You're on.
Yeah. And go. Anyway, that's what I was just bitching and moaning about. The way uniforms look, and it being opening day and baseball being back, and I like a bit of the National Yankees today, and I heard about the tradition they're starting with the patch and being on, but I didn't realize just how far they were going to go with it, and I just don't like it. It's there's a patch on the sleeve and on the hat. I was like, okay, that's I can live with that. It's kind of a neat thing, but they trimmed the front of the jersey's name in like gold, which it's you don't really notice that as much, but the W on the hat was gold, and the numbers on the back, they say they're gold. To me, it looked more pink than anything else. I just don't like this. This is just god awful. So,
excuse me. I think the idea of taking a team color away to replace it with gold is just, it doesn't work for me. I was saying earlier, man, there's a lot of ideas that you can take from the Premier League. And if you want to have a gold patch for your champs, okay, but I don't know, man. It just seems a little excessive, man. We're like, hey, man, here 24 karat gold socks, man, put them on.
Yeah. Come on down.
Oh, you got look awesome is what you gonna do. Shoot.
And I mean, I'm fine with, if you want to have a patch, that could stay for the season, but hopefully the gold stuff is just kind of like, maybe that's just like opening day, opening weekend series kind of thing. But I never got any confirmation one way or the other. It just seemed like, oh, this is what they're going to look like. I don't care for it.
Yeah, baseball does love their opening series, and I love baseball a ton, man. But the 10,000 every holiday needs a different colored bat and a different uniform. I hate that stuff, man. That junk drives me up the wall. 4th of July probably being the worst, because for all of the wailing and gnashing of teeth over that dang old Colin Kaepernick, oh, he's so disrespectful. It's like, don't ever read. I think it's section 206 of the flag code. Don't ever read that, ever. Because if you got a problem with what Kaepernick did, but you're okay. But really, like, an overwhelming majority of things that are done on the field. For example, we always have like a nice big 120-foot flag or yard flag stretched out over the field, right? That's illegal. That's disrespectful. You're not supposed to ever have the flag, or it's on the flag. It's got to be presented as a flag. You're not supposed to use it for sale on anything. Everyone does that. We've all got a jersey we got the Braves jersey with the red, white, and blue in the background. That's technically illegal. So if we're going to get so upset about disrespect to the flag, then let's go whole hog. That stuff irks me a little bit.
Do not change the flag.
Dude, it's like, man, if that big of a deal, if we're going to make a big deal, let's make a big deal. But ultimately, that's a long stretch from man, the Nats have gold on their uniforms and it sucks. Sorry, man.
It's one of those kind of things that I saw it and was like, I remembered that it was going to happen when I saw the game, but then I was like, I don't think I'm down with it. Not down with it.
I can get down with this. No, I can't.
Baseball started back up.
It's very nice to have baseball back, man.
Turns out I can't. Yeah, man. Good stuff. That's one reason why I got on the phone with you so late. It's like I was waiting for the way the game was looking like the Braves were going to play all night. Just like could not stop scoring. Like, please, of all nights.
Yeah, dude, seriously. It's very funny that the Braves took no time at all to basically show all the old National League fans that are like, we talked about the DH being AL baseball. This is what we meant. You just think that National League games are long. You just thought, man, baseball's so slow, it takes so long. Put a DH in the National League, you'll find out what a long game is. 6 hours is chump change for the AL. You have 9 professional hitters that you have to get out.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah, man.
It worked out when, I was like, yeah, man, keep it going.
Oh, yeah, the boys look good, man. They went they scored 20.
Yeah. Yes, they like 16-1 tonight, or something like that.
I think so.
And that's part of the fun of the doom and gloom that swings so fast. Like after the first game, where I was like, "Oh God, we're just awful." Then the past two is like, "Just wait, it's gonna be fine."
People that like to jump off the bridge, like every sport is SEC football, are loving this short baseball season because now they can lose their minds about, oh my God, Ronald Acuna's trash, which is what everybody wants to say anyway because we hate the fact that our face of the franchise is a black kid. We hate it. It drives people crazy. I can't stand it. It's the reason Andrew Jones is still disrespected in this town, man. Andrew Jones is probably naturally the best player the city's ever seen. And yes, that includes Hank Aaron. Andrew Jones is unbelievable, but his legacy gets crapped on every time you turn around. Nobody even talks about him anymore. And it's like, anyway, but I'm just with you. Them being on ESPN today doesn't help because they hate Acuna anyway because having to pay attention to Atlanta irks them a little bit.
Yeah. They're gonna be there. They were on tonight. They're gonna be on playing the Phillies next Sunday. So they're not digging it.
Yeah, it's a darn shame.
ESPN.
It's a darn shame that we're doing baseball in a regional sense, and it makes sense. I mean, with the disease, I completely understand why they're doing it, but it's like, all those years that we played the division, 90 games out of the 162. This is why it's frustrating, man. We've already all seen this.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I did since the last time I sat and talked with you that was kind of fun is I've got a movie review.
Yeah.
I sat down and it was been on the DVR for whenever the last time we had a free preview from HBO or whatever it was. But there's a movie called Blinded by the Light.
Oh, yes, there is.
That I sat down and watched and just dug it hardcore. Have you seen it yet?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I loved it. I'm right there with you, brother. I thought it was great.
Oh, it's directed by Grinder, and she, director of Bend It Like Beckham. She directed the Cadison segment in for Paris a few years ago, and it's a cool ass story. That old story of a Pakistani immigrant in Luton, England, set in 1987, that loves Bruce Springsteen. It's been told 1,000 times.
Tale as old as time.
It was kind of it was the story of a Pakistani immigrant chasing his runaway American dream in England. But kind of the funny part of the story is it's set in 1987. This kid is just discovered Bruce Springsteen at a time when the bloom's kind of off the rose for the boss when this story is set. So that's part of what made it really fun is if anybody did a jukebox musical, it was Springsteen, but he kind of did that on his own when he did his own Broadway show. And so I kind of wondered, like, when we're going to get his version of that, or I'm blanking on some of the other bands that have done those. But to me, I think that this was the best way to do it, is to do it from the perspective of somebody else liking his music and dig. And I just kind of thought it was a setting until I realized as the credits rolling, I was based on a true story anyway. It was based on Sharfus Manzoot. I hope I said that name right. And he are greetings from Berry Park, race, religion, and as the credits roll, and you see his kind of chilling with the boss, and like, oh man, this really went down. So this is a really really cool movie to go out and check it out. It came out about this time last around August or so, and so it's not that old. It still be able to catch it streaming on something, or probably get a Blu-ray of it if you're into that. But it's really really good story. Check it out.
I completely agree. I loved it. I thought it was great, and it's interesting because I had a similar reaction that you did as soon as he and his buddy, who's the guy that turns him on to Springsteen, when they first having the conversation about what year it
Mm-hmm.
is. As the first thing in the movie, I'm like, oh, this had to have really happened because there's no way you're going to do a Bruce Springsteen story
Mm-hmm.
set that late. And it's like, that's so cool. That's got to be a real detail. It's like, no, I lived this and this is when I lived it. I completely agree. There was something really awesome about that part of the story. Excuse me. I loved it. I just enjoyed the crowd. I remember seeing the preview. We're Springsteen guys anyway, so it's like that seems pretty cool. And then when I watched it, I loved it.
Mm-hmm. I just did I wasn't as far as what uh, England was going through at the time. Yeah, some pretty hard immigrants weren't necessarily welcomed with open arms. So you had that going on top of a Bruce Springsteen soundtrack. It fits. It really was good to kind of have it said in that time and was legit and happened that way. It's like, man, that makes it real good. Makes it even better.
As our cousins in the UK typically do, they got there about 10 years before we did, where you have a extraordinarily right-wing government ruin the economy and then blame immigrants. That they did it, then we did it. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm. It was just and there's a lot of cool characters in it, like uh, uh, his friend that turns him on to Bruce Springsteen is cool. But even his friend that he kind of lives in his little apartment complex was like, that's a really cool relationship. And his friend's dad, like, man, these are all, you know, some really cool people that, hey, man, this is fun.
I thought the thing with
So,
the neighbor was particularly good too because the dad character is presented as so likable and he's cool with everybody except his kid. He's kind of cruddy to him, so it's like in the sidebar character that you're fleshing out. That's impressive, man.
yeah. That, and even his, the creepy old guy neighbor down the way. It's like, man, that was a lot of good. I dug a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, me too. I saw the preview and knew I wanted to see it, and then when I watched it, I liked it as much as I thought I would, but for way different reasons than I thought I would. It was like there was just a lot, like you're saying, there was a lot more to it than I was expecting, and I
Yeah.
dug it.
Oh yeah. The the Springsteen tie-in got me there, but it being really good movie is kind of hey that's cherry on top.
Absolutely, man, for real.
Man, heck yeah, man. So you check that out if you're looking for a good time to good old movie cinema.
Ain't no movie cinema,
Man,
man.
did you check out uh, if one of these days the movie cinema that everybody has in their own freaking multiplex on the couch.
It's oh, dude, seriously, everybody's
uh,
favorite movie
did you check
theater
out
these days.
AEW? That's just what we get together and talk about. This thing of race on shows, and so I had to throw that in just something to check out.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought I was pretty sure I caught you, man. I did watch AEW because that's what I do. I've become obsessed with that stupid show, and it's weird because I don't even. It's not like I love it, but it's like I was telling you earlier. Old NXT shows had maybe one thing I wasn't wild about, and I was cool with everything else. AEW is kind of the opposite. Maybe they got two things I like, but I really like those two things, so I'm going to keep watching. So it's like, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and this was a good weekend of a lot of good stuff in. I felt like.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, kicking off with a Eddie Kingston and Cody match was, when you look at what that they kick off their show with that, and NXT kicks off with Keith cutting a promo relinquishing the title. Like, well, that's a better jam to start with.
Every single week, I become more and more convinced that Triple H and Cody have a deal worked out. Every single week, man. And this is more of my Cornette conspiracy. But Corny just continues to love that. Well, see, we brought all their viewers back. We gave them all their viewers back. You started making a big deal about that on the week when a dual championship match was scheduled against a promo. Pretty safe bet that the one with the double championship match is probably going to have higher ratings. And every single week now, they just counter each other with nothing. It's like these softballs, and I'm like, yeah, wasn't nobody. Cody versus Eddie Kingston was going to get everybody, and it sucks because it's presented as like, well, AEW didn't try. Well, freaking Fight for the Fallen Night 1 didn't try either, but it's more of the same where the ratings between these two shows were not a big thing on that podcast until the second NXT stuck their nose out front. And it's like, you're going to have to talk about this forever now. It's not going to last forever. And it didn't. It lasted a week. But anyway, I'm getting way sidetracked. Yeah. Eddie Kingston is awesome. That guy is just one of those legit. He's not great, at performing over the top. Hayabusa style moves. Or move sets or anything. It doesn't matter, man. It's just like that dude seems to me, he's that believable. Legit. When that dude says he's going to beat the crap out of somebody, I believe him. Like his facials, I believe him. It's like Eddie Kingston could whoop my ass. I totally believe that, and I love watching him do his thing, and I was really happy to see him. I thought he was great in the NWA, but they're not really doing anything these days. So any of those dudes that want to come through that door, I'm like, hey, man, come on over. There's a lot of guys there I really like, and there's a lot of guys I'd like to keep watching, and he's dang sure one of them.
Heck yeah. Did that one a good bit.
Me too. I totally agree with you. I thought that was an excellent match.
Yeah, man. I wasn't so sure. Well, we're not so sure about the women's tag tournament.
Yeah.
Kind of like, that's got me nervous. But, I just kind of chalked it that, trying to, why are you going to try to keep up with the Joneses that hardcore and that one for one? It's like, hopefully it works out, but I just going down the way they expect it to.
I'm with you. I think having a women's tournament in AEW is fine. It's still, it seems to me a women's tournament in AEW might be a stretch. A women's tag tournament, I just don't think you got enough bodies on the roster to make that happen. And that's my first issue with it is I love the idea of trying to showcase everybody. I think that's cool, but if you don't have the people to put in those places, if you don't have the people for the slots, then do fewer slots. It's okay. Other issues, like I was telling you, man, 2 weeks after Brandy Rhodes winds up in a tag team, we're having a tournament, a women's tag team tournament. I'm really, I don't mean to be so mean to her, man, but boy, it's one of those things. Brian Last talks a bunch of crap about her, and he talks a bunch of crap about Cody, and some of it just sounds ridiculous, but some of it I completely agree with. And for all of the vanity airtime, I guess is the best way to describe it for Brandy Rhodes, it really does feel like that. It sucks to say that, but that is honestly how I feel. And especially if they book her to win this tournament, I was telling you earlier, man, it will at least finally be the chapter for all the people that have just been sitting, waiting for one of the members of the elite to give themselves a title so they could finally say, I knew it. I knew they were just going to make themselves champs. See, I was right. People have been waiting for 2 years now, and it's like, it still hasn't happened. Bucks haven't won the tag titles. Kenny hasn't won the big one. Cody hadn't won the big one. Hangman hadn't won anything. Well, he's won half the tag titles, but still, it's like, okay, so we can finally have the nepotism run wild, beat Brandy Rhodes and Bunny. I think that was her partner, and I think that's who. I should remember that girl's name, but I don't. Anyhow, I'm with you. That's my silly personal problem with it is I don't want Brandy Rhodes booking herself to be in top level of anything in the women's division because she doesn't deserve it. But my other thing is, like we said, the big issue I've got is just, man, maybe if they've got like a pipeline and they've got like a whole bunch of new signees coming in, awesome. But I'm afraid that's what I'm going to need for them to do for me to get excited about
it. Yeah. That's when the WWE women's tag division, I was like, this is kind of iffy. Then for them to go along and do the follow suit and do the same thing, and like, I just, where's the necessity? Why now? Why now? It's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I again, if you want to do a women's singles tournament, I don't know. I could just get it. I mean, it's not. There are better women workers in AEW than they're often given credit for, but there aren't a ton of them, and that really is the issue. And again, it's not that people aren't good; it's just people aren't there. It's just not a big division. So hopefully one day, the two girls, Diamante and gosh, I can't remember the other lady's name. That stinks. But the match this past week, it was the Cuban girl and the Puerto Rican girl. And I'm mentioning that because they came out with flags, and I'm like, this is awesome because if you get people from that part of the world, especially those two countries, oh man, drape yourself in the flag because it's like boxing. If you watch a boxing match between somebody from Mexico and somebody from Puerto Rico, as long as nobody dies, and they might, because boy, they fight each other like hell. The rivalry between those countries is fantastic. So playing that up, I thought was really good, and I liked their match too. I enjoyed it. I had never seen either one of them before. I'm kind of hoping they'll wind up as a tag team, but maybe they can win it. I would love that. And if you want to, again, more with dragging people from the NWA, dude, if you're going to bring over Thunder Rosa and you want to bring in Holiday, man, I remember seeing them as the Twisted Sisters in Ring of Honor, and I was super impressed with them as a tag team. I would love that. Oh my God. Or you could do that if you want to do I always want to say Nightmare Collective, but the Nightmare Sisters, and have them win. And we're the queens of the hill. Everything's cool. And then if you've got Holiday and Thunder Rosa coming, I'll be in on that because they were good. I enjoyed the crap out of their act and their matches. Cool stuff. So hopefully it'll be something good. But again, like we're saying, I'm still talking about them bringing new people in. So I guess that's my thing is if it leads to a lot of new signings, awesome. But if not, I'm concerned about how the heck do you pull this off?
Yeah, man. It's kind of got that kind of nervousness about it. I'll, get down with them, see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm hoping it goes well because
most of the way I end up watching these shows is on most of the stuff I watch is on the DVR anyway. If I don't like it, I can just skip. It'll be all good.
I'm the same way. It's what I think every time I start hearing the ratings for either one of these shows is I'm like, man, I've never been in any of those because I don't think I've ever watched a single one of those shows live. I'm with you. I'm in the DVR ratings and the DVR demographic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Comes to the ratings and how they're just so touted now. Every number I hear is like, that ain't even real. It's not real. They're just making stuff up. when it gets broken down in age groups and genders and everything else, I'm like, how do y'all even know this? Yeah, Can you even trust that? I don't buy it.
The demographic thing I don't understand is twofold. One, the 18 to 49 demographic, Yeah, everybody knows that because of Vince McMahon. We had no problem when he was talking about how, well, WCW got the overall rating, but 18 to 49, nobody cared. It was totally okay for Vince to hide behind that. Meanwhile, Jericho and Tony Khan, especially Jericho, start doing it as a joke, a complete joke, and people take him serious. It's insane to me. I can't believe that people actually bought that. Jericho came out and cut a promo about being the demo god on winning the 18 to 49, and people took him seriously. How does that happen?
Mm-hmm.
It was a joke. It was the whole thing was tongue in cheek. I'm like, y'all, everything Jericho does you think is funny, except this thing he did that was actually hilarious. And you, oh my God, man.
Yeah. What's up now?
Oh God, the ratings breakdown. I'm with you. The ratings breakdown thing is, if I have any money invested in this, why should I care? It's not a thing. And ultimately, like I said, that's the real issue that I've got with it being such a big thing now is, when AEW was on top for all those, nobody cared, including you and I. And now I'm supposed to care because NXT beat them 1 week and then things went right back. But now you're stuck. This is why you never should have brought it up, because it's like now Corny and Last have to talk about this every week. Like, man, it doesn't matter anyway, man. Ain't none of us getting paid off of it, so why do we care?
Man. You would think with as many as it would take to find accurate data, I would know somebody that's ever had one. I've never even. Maybe you're sworn to secrecy if you do. I don't know, but nobody I've ever heard, ever seen. I don't know if they even really exist.
For real, the little Nielsen box they put on your TV. I'm like, I don't know anyone's ever had one of those. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, is it just automatically put in and they just didn't tell you? Who knows?
Seriously, this is what you watched.
Yeah. Regardless of what the ratings truly, I run the network and I like Gilligan's Island, so it stays.
So guess what's number one?
Kind of one reason why that show lasted as long as it
did. Seriously. Gilligan's Island gets picked up for a 14th season.
For that one.
Gilligan's Island gets picked up for a 14th season, and the head of the network is, look what Daddy did.
I don't care. I like it.
For real. As for me, man, Bob Denver is my hero. I don't care what you idiots like.
Put my song.
Yes. Oh, excuse me, y'all.
Was there anything else on the show? No, I'm blanking on pretty much everything else.
I remember the beginning of it being real good, like you're talking about. That was cool. And the Young Bucks Butcher Blade was fine once they got to the ring. All the outside the ring stuff is just, I just think stuff like that's silly. That's not my style, so whatever. The Mud Show sign in the truck was funny because, again, with Corny and Last doing that, these guys listen to us every week. Yeah, and you're watching them every week, too. That's exactly why they keep giving you those little Easter eggs. They gave them one 2 weeks ago that nobody talked about, and the one they gave them 2 weeks ago was MJF and Wardlow sitting in the crowd with no face mask. This Cornette's been having a conniption fit over people not wearing masks in public. So it's like, okay, we're going to have your hero, your baby doll, your illegitimate child sit on camera with no mask on. I dare you to talk about it. And he didn't. He bypassed it. And that's the thing. As much as I love Corny historically, it's why I don't like him now, because every single thing he does is based on emotion and whether or not he likes you personally. I give you a perfect example. You had the thing later on in the show where, who was it that came out and, oh shoot, who were they beating up? They were beating up was Taz and Ricky Starks and big dude Cage, and they were beating up Darby Allin. So here comes Moxley for the save with the barbed wire wrap baseball bat. And Cornette had a fit over it's the stupidest gimmick ever, and it's so dumb and Lottie Dynamite. Yeah, and who introduced it to American wrestling? your hero, Mick Foley, the guy who you will never take a swipe at. He talks more crap about hardcore garbage wrestling, that your guy created, that your guy made. Cactus Jack is literally where Paul Lee got all the ideas from. And it's completely okay to not like it, but to give Foley a pass to the point that you won't even say his name because he's nice to you, that's why Cornette's got no objectivity, and I got no respect for most of his opinions. The ones, anybody that Corny likes this week and doesn't like this week and then likes this time and then maybe doesn't for a while, then gets back in, that's the ones you listen to him on, because that means he's really actually watching and telling you what he thinks. Kenny Omega, Nick Jackson, Matt Jackson. Hey man, that horse already left the barn and got shot in the face. It's never going to happen. So there's no point in even listening to that part of the show. But I just thought that was quite cute. That again, Brian Last keeps taking victory laps over. Man, we're in their heads, man. They listen to us every week, and it's like, yeah, they do, because you talk about them every week. I'm still convinced. They'll never convince me otherwise. All of this magnanimous benevolence of like, well, we might as well give them their viewers back and we'll talk about it so people will watch them again. You sure about that? Because I'm pretty sure it would be YouTube views and downloads is the reason you're doing that, because people hate listening to you too. AEW fans listen to your show to be like, ooh, that Cornette, oh, you know what I mean? And they stopped because I'm never watching AEW again. And the people were like, it's true. And then people were like, cool, now I never have to listen to this show again. And they stopped and the numbers dropped off. And it's like, well, at least we know how to get them back up. So good on them, man. It's cool. But I think it's one of the reasons they bang the drum so hard about, well, we got them their viewers back. Nah, man, you're trying too hard. You're covering too much there, man. It's all good. I appreciate that. You know, Corny needs to think he's working everybody, and he's got to think he's got one over on folks. But simple economics are simple economics, man. If it affects your bottom line, you're going to do whatever you have to do to get the numbers back up. So I'll watch this flaming trash can to get my numbers up. And I don't blame you a bit. That's exactly what you should do.
Yep. All right.
I can't tell you how much I hate this shit, but boy, it's better than being poor. High five. Fire up the DVR, Stacey. I also like that.
A little bit too much. Give themselves a little bit too much credit for that.
It's not real. That's where I'm at. It's just a complete cover for the numbers that actually went back up whenever you started watching this show again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that Corny's in Camp DVR. I was just going to say, I'm glad that we were talking earlier that Corny's in Camp DVR, because by God, you know he's going to give himself the option to fast forward. I don't blame him a bit. So I understand that we all have that in common.
Yeah. Definitely get down with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's just the way to do it.
I'm so spoiled on commercials, man. With TV on DVD, that really messed me up. And then when you got DVR and you can zip through that, man, I'm just hopeless. Excuse me, y'all.
Yeah, I do it with virtually everything. One of the shows I've always liked, and it's hard to be on TV on a Sunday, but the CBS Sunday morning show, I've always liked that new show. And now that I can fast forward through the stuff I'm not that into, man, that's the way to get down with that show. I love it to skip, because I like the way they cover news on that show and some of the stuff that the people that they have on. But it'd be an episode was like, I'm not into hardly any of this. I got to see this one part, then I'm done.
Totally, man. Most of the news shows on this.
But I don't know how long he's been doing it, but for the whole, it's worth going back and watching Jim Gaffigan's editorials on that. He's been doing a lot of them here these past several weeks since the pandemic, and he's really got some good points on pretty much all the ones that he does. He's probably been doing it for years, and I just haven't realized it, but I've noticed him a lot more here recently.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, dude, because that guy, I know we both love that guy.
Yeah.
all my news shows that I follow now, I just listen to the podcast. So I'm with you. I don't want ads for anything. Spoiled, man.
Yeah. No thanks.
What you trying to say?
I'll
Why
listen
you doing?
about your Office Space and Blue Chew.
My God, seriously, man, is there a wrestling related podcast that's not Cornette related that won't try and sell you Blue Chew? My God, man. Like, dude, first of all,
You want it.
here's the thing I don't understand about Blue Chew and wrestling fans. You're pitching it to wrestling fans, okay? If we're not getting any, that's probably God's will. If we are getting some and can't, take care of business, I guess what I'm trying to say is if the natural order of things is for us as wrestling fans to not procreate, man, let's just let it be. Let's just let it be that way, man, because we'll probably be better off. Us as a wrestling fans as a species will be better off if we just end this thing. But I just can't believe it. It's like, that's my thing with the AEW podcast. And dude, seriously, but that's my thing with the AEW podcast, which I love because Tony and Aubrey are entertaining as crap together. They're really quite good. And the other thing is nobody works on there at all. That show, there is no work. There is no work done on that show. Everyone that goes on there, it is who they are. You are listening to Colt Cabana talk as Colt Cabana. You're listening to Nyla. The Nyla Rose episode was great. I love that one. She is her. It's like, and I love that. I think that's real cool because I don't need you to shoot during to work during a podcast. That's what TV's for. That's what AEW Dark is for, man. I like finding out who these people are. It's very cool. But Nyla and Aubrey and especially Tony getting in their discussion about freaking breakfast cereal and like the best baseline mixer breakfast cereal to put different flavors together. I'm like, you could have told me that I could have 100 guesses on what they were going to talk about on this show, and I wouldn't have got it. But it was so cool because it's something they're like super into. Yeah. It's great. That show is great. But even still, it's like, man, State Farm is your number one sponsor for this podcast. And you're still trying to sell me Blue Chew, man. God dang, how much money do you need, man? It's like State Farm and I mean, but take this if you want to get your wiener hard for 3.5 days. I'm like, God, I can't get away from this stuff anywhere, can I? That's Cornette's revenge, man. That's Cornette. Man, seriously. But Blue Chew is Cornette's revenge, man. It's like, I tried to warn you about them dick pills, but you won't listen to my podcast anymore. So it's like, you're right, Cornette. I'm sorry. He was right. He tried to help me.
Okay. All right, fine.
Okay, Cornette.
One back.
All right. That says Lance Russell for Blue Chew. That'd be awesome. Lance Russell did a commercial for it. I might look into it.
Should we make that happen?
Yeah, seriously.
Dig him up.
Seriously. It's Lance Russell coming to you from beyond the grave and the eternal ever after to talk to you about my friends of Blue Chew. Tell them about it, JR. Watch right, Lance. I'll tell you, man. That'd be awesome. They just all get on a conference call, man. And then while JR's under, he can do his Gordon Soley impersonation, and all of them will be there. It's great, man.
Hell.
Oh, man.
Dang old Blue Chew.
Man, dang old Blue Chew, man. Sorry, man. Dang old Blue Chew, man. Dang old JR, man. Take this Blue Chew, man. 72 hours later, I'm still saying Boomer Sooner. It's stupid. That shouldn't do it. For whoops and daisy. Oh, man.
That good stuff.
It's true, man. I'm sorry. Once again, I have come to this show with no notes or anything to discuss about anything, but I very much with it. I'm glad you like Blinded by the Light, man, because that was a dope movie, and I'm glad you dug it. Because of course, pardon me, when I first saw the preview, and it's like, oh man, Springsteen movie. You know, the man's the first person I thought of. So I'm glad that you dug it, man.
Heck yeah, man! I finally got around to way, way, way better than I thought it was even going to be in the first place.
I had the exact same reaction.
There's what if there's it has that kind of musical quality where some of the some in the singing and the singing out in public like a musical. I think they kind of handle a good old bus group like shut up. But it's got there's a little bit of that hokiness in it, but at the same time, it's kind of like a musical. So I can look past that and still kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree.
They reached out to Bruce when he heard about the movie. He's like, "Sure, you want some songs from The Wrestler?" And they're like, "No, God, no."
How about the Streets of Philadelphia with The Wrestler?
No, just save that for your show. Save that for the Broadway stage. People are gonna dig it.
You know what, boss?
You
keep those.
Songs for The Wrestler.
No, you keep those, boss.
Yeah.
Those are yours.
Yeah, we're just not ready for that yet.
Seriously,
we've got enough. I think we've got enough natural story of what went on at the time that people are going to want to open up a vein over that.
For real,
City
man.
Songs from The Wrestler.
I won an Oscar. Mickey Rourke didn't, but I did.
Yeah, man.
Man, that movie sucks.
Who do you ever beat? Nobody. That's
Who do you ever beat? Nobody, I say. Randy the Ram Robinson's not even real. I hated that movie so much, man. It's silly because it's very interesting that The Wrestler came up because for some reason a lot of the reviews, a lot of the podcast reviews for that movie have started coming back into my feed, and it's just some people really like it, some people really don't. I just know myself, and my problem with it, to be blunt, is I just hate Darren Aronofsky, man. That is the most reach for the bottom of the gallows.
That's what I was going to get around to. I think that's the biggest problem with that movie.
I think so too, man. It's like it is just he tries so hard to be so oppressively depressing, but it's all surface stuff, all of it. Because man, you can watch. There's plenty of movies out there that are depressing, but Darren Aronofsky seems to me to be like somebody that saw Breaking the Waves in his freshman year of film school and is like, I'm going to make that movie every year for the rest of my life. And it's like, have fun with that, man. Because I thought Requiem for a Dream worked. I thought The Wrestler was bad. I thought Black Swan was bad. I've never seen anything else of his I thought was worthwhile. And honestly, I thought Requiem was pretty bad the second time. You watch it once, like, okay, but it's just, his stuff's just not my stuff, man.
Yes, it's not my jam, and that's what I have to factor in when it comes to some movies. Like, I don't go back and check it out again. When you have that movie that you definitely like, never again. I think that says a lot about.
I think so. I think, excuse me, sometimes it's a quality issue and sometimes it's a content issue. And sometimes it's both. Like I talked about, man, I need to gird myself up and make myself watch Midsummer at least one more time because I've never seen a movie that I didn't enjoy better the second time. I don't expect to enjoy Midsummer, but the quality of that movie means I need to watch it again. But man, I'm still not ready. It's how effective it is. It's because it was so good and got so far inside. Man, I was watching a movie the other day. It was called The Sunlit Night. It's Jenny Slate, who played Mona Lisa Vito in Parks and Rec, John Ralphio's sister. I love Jenny Slate. I think she's hilarious, and I love her, and so I want to watch anything she's in. And so I watched it, and it was quite good. And it's not a depressing movie. It's not a scary movie. It's not heavy. It's not supposed to climb inside your head and make you think not weird thoughts, but just uncomfortable. That's not that at all. It's a nice, interesting, very cool movie. There's a little bit of drama in it, a little bit of real stuff. It was cool. I liked it. But a lot of it is shot in Norway, and a lot of it is shot outside. And with the sun always being up, there's nice sunlight and there's pretty green flowers, and everything is all brightly lit. And because it's brightly lit, it made me think of Midsummer. So this really nice, pleasant movie made me think of this other, like, really disturbing thing. So I still had trouble sleeping that night. I was like, God damn it. Even when I watch the fun stuff, it's like, oh, Midsummer. But the point about that with Midsummer is oh God, seriously. But it really is it's quality. That's exactly what that movie, I shouldn't say it's what it's supposed to do, but boy, it worked I loved it. It's so good. And I don't know if I could ever bring myself to watch it again.
Yeah. There's some out there that can be a one and done, but that's, it's just very, very rarely is it something like the way that people try to tout the wrestlers, like yesterday, and Savage, like I think you're giving it way too much credit, too much praise when you say that.
I think so too. I think there are a lot of Aronofsky marks that say that about everything he's ever done. Like Black Swan, God, people treated that like it was the greatest movie of all time, and I'm like, you only like that movie because two of the prettiest girls in Hollywood go down on each other. That's the only reason you like it. It's the only reason you like it. And you can admit it, and we can all move on, but stop trying to pretend like that was a good movie. It wasn't. It wasn't. Black Swan was crap.
Yeah.
Crap Swan. Stupid. Stupid, man.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, brother. That is exactly what's up, man. Thank you for the call,
good
brother.
Brethren.
Good brethren at his highest order.
Girls, try to time off again. Man, y'all be cool.
Have a good one, y'all.